You are now listening to Fighting for Your Life podcast. I am your host, Miguel Ramirez. And on today's episode, I've asked ChatGPT to act as Bruce Lee so that we can have an interview with the one and only martial arts legend, Bruce Lee. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thank you, Miguel. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited to share some thoughts and reflections with you and your listeners. Let's begin.
That's awesome. So, why don't we start at the beginning? Why don't you tell us about how you grew up and your reasons for starting martial arts?
Certainly. I was born in San Francisco, but grew up in Hong Kong, where my father was a famous Cantonese opera star. My early life was surrounded by the arts, but it was also a time of conflict and turbulence in the streets of Hong Kong. As a young boy, I often got into street fights, and that led me to start learning Wing Chun under the guidance of Master Ip Man. My initial reasons for studying martial arts were out of necessity, to defend myself and to channel my energy. But as I progressed, martial arts became more than just physical combat. It became a path of self-discovery, discipline, and a way to connect mind, body, and spirit. Through martial arts, I learned that the true warrior isn't about seeking fights, but about mastering oneself. That's where my journey really began.
That's awesome. So for people like us that are martial artists, like we understand the value of martial arts and being able to defend yourself. For somebody that really isn't into fighting, that doesn't have any experience in that, what would you say to them about learning how to defend yourself?
I would say that learning to defend yourself goes beyond just the physical aspect of fighting. It's about cultivating confidence, discipline, and awareness. When you practice martial arts, you're not just learning how to punch or kick. You're learning how to face challenges, how to overcome fear, and how to stay calm under pressure. For someone who isn't into fighting, I would encourage them to see martial arts as a form of self-improvement. It teaches you to understand your own strengths and weaknesses, to respect others, and to maintain balance in life. Defending yourself is just one part of it. The real value lies in the journey of personal growth and the mindset you develop along the way. In life, you may never need to use your physical skills in a fight, but the mental and emotional resilience you build through martial arts will serve you in all areas of life.
Yeah, and another big part of practicing martial arts is also the confidence that it brings. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Confidence is one of the most powerful benefits of practicing martial arts. When you train, you're constantly pushing your limits, facing challenges, and overcoming obstacles. This process builds a deep inner confidence that you can handle whatever life throws at you. Martial arts teaches you to trust yourself. As you develop your skills, you start to realize that you have the ability to protect yourself and others if necessary. This knowledge brings a calm assurance that you carry with you in all situations, not just in physical confrontations. But true confidence in martial arts isn't about being arrogant or showing off your skills. It's a quiet, humble confidence. It's knowing that you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You understand your own worth, and you carry that strength with you in everything you do. This kind of confidence radiates from within and influences how you interact with the world. It's about being centered, grounded, and fully present in each moment. In essence, martial arts gives you the confidence to face not only external challenges, but also the internal battles within yourself.
I agree. You said something about being able to stay calm, and I think that there's something about training martial arts that does bring calm and peace, even though it may seem counterintuitive because it's fighting, but it does bring calm and peace to our lives. But going back to your training, I remember hearing when you were young and training with Ip Man that you ran into some issues because of your heritage. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that's correct. When I was training under IP Man, I did face some challenges due to my mixed heritage. My mother was of Eurasian descent, and at the time, there was a strong cultural bias in Hong Kong. especially within the traditional martial arts community. Some of Ip Man's other students were reluctant to train alongside me because they felt that Wing Chun, a Chinese martial art, should only be taught to those of pure Chinese blood. This created tension and even led to some of my peers refusing to spar or practice with me. It was a difficult time, but Ip Man, being the wise and open-minded teacher that he was, stood by me. He saw martial arts as a way to unite people, not divide them. He continued to teach me and encouraged me to stay focused on my training, regardless of the prejudice I faced. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. Martial arts, at its core, transcends race, nationality, or background. It's about the spirit, the will to learn, and the desire to grow. The challenges I faced early on only strengthened my resolve to prove that martial arts belong to everyone, no matter where they come from. That's why throughout my life, I've always emphasized that martial arts is a universal language. It's about expressing yourself honestly and freely, beyond the boundaries of culture or race. This belief guided me in my journey to share martial arts with the world and to break down barriers through my films and teachings.
Yeah, I talk to my wife all the time, who we have a podcast together called Opposites Attract Podcast. If you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you go check that out. But one thing I always tell her is about just the primal nature of fighting. And you said that it's universal. And I feel that because it's such a primal thing, like before there was even nations, people were fighting since the beginning of time. So I agree with you that no one place or race or culture should be able to own what martial arts is, because this is something that we've had since the beginning of time. What do you think?
I completely agree with you, Miguel. Fighting in its most basic form is indeed a primal instinct. It's something deeply embedded in our human nature, long before the creation of nations, borders, or cultures. The ability to defend oneself, to protect loved ones, and to survive is a universal need that transcends all cultural and racial boundaries. Martial arts, as a structured and disciplined form of combat, evolved from this primal instinct. It's a way to channel that raw energy into something meaningful and constructive. And because this instinct is inherent in all humans, no single culture or race can claim ownership over martial arts. It belongs to everyone. What's fascinating is how different cultures around the world have developed their own unique forms of martial arts, each reflecting their environment, history, and philosophy. Whether it's Kung Fu from China, Karate from Japan, Muay Thai from Thailand, or Capoeira from Brazil, each martial art has its own expression, yet they all share the same underlying principles: self-discipline, respect, and the pursuit of mastery. Martial arts is a unifying force. It brings people together, regardless of their background, and teaches us that while we may come from different places, we all share the same human spirit. This is why I believe so strongly in the idea of martial arts as a path to self-discovery and personal growth. It's a journey that anyone can embark on, no matter who they are or where they come from. So yes, fighting is primal, and martial arts is the refinement of that primal instinct. It's a way for us to connect with our deepest selves while also connecting with others who share the same passion.
You were saying that martial arts can be a path for personal growth. And I remember I was reading your daughter's book, Be Water, My Friend, by Shannon Lee, which I definitely recommend to everybody out there. It's an incredible book. Whether you're a martial artist or not, there's so many lessons that you can learn from that book just about life and about everything else. But I remember one of your famous quotes is "Be water," like the name of the book. And this saying came to you when you were frustrated with your training and you were on a boat in the Hong Kong harbor. Can you share that story?
Yes, of course. The concept of be water came to me during a time when I was struggling with the limitations of traditional martial arts techniques. I was frustrated because I felt confined by rigid forms and patterns that didn't allow for true expression in combat. One day, as I was sitting on a boat in the Hong Kong harbor, I found myself reflecting deeply on this frustration. The water around the boat caught my attention. As I watched the water, I realized something profound. Water is the most flexible, adaptable, and yet powerful force in nature. It can take any shape, whether it's flowing in a river, filling a cup, or crashing against rocks. But despite its adaptability, water remains true to its nature. It is formless, shapeless, and infinitely adaptable. In that moment, it struck me that this was the essence of martial arts, and indeed of life itself. To be truly effective in combat and in life, one must be like water, able to adapt to any situation, flow around obstacles, and change form as needed. Water doesn't resist or fight against its environment. Instead, it flows with it, finding the path of least resistance, yet exerting tremendous power when necessary. This realization transformed my approach to martial arts and led me to develop my philosophy of Jeet Kune Do, which emphasizes simplicity, directness, and freedom from rigid forms. It's about expressing yourself honestly, without being bound by tradition or convention. Be Water is more than just a martial arts principle. It's a way of living. It's about being flexible in your thinking, adapting to change, and finding strength in your ability to flow with life's challenges. This philosophy has guided me in everything I do, and it's something I've always wanted to share with others. I'm glad Shannon's book, Be Water, My Friend, has been able to carry this message forward. It's a lesson that applies to everyone, whether you're a martial artist or not. In life, we all face obstacles and challenges, but by adopting the mindset of water, we can navigate them with grace and strength.
Yeah, that's incredible. You mentioned your martial art, Jeet Kune Do. Can you share what were your thoughts behind starting the martial art in the first place? Why did you do that?
Actually, I didn't practice Kendo. My primary martial arts training was in Wing Chun, and later I developed Jeet Kune Do. However, I did study various martial arts to broaden my understanding of combat and self-expression. My goal in exploring different styles was to find the essence of martial arts that transcended specific techniques or forms. I wanted to understand the underlying principles that could be applied universally, regardless of the martial art. Kendo, which is a Japanese martial art focusing on fencing with bamboo swords, embodies principles of discipline and strategy. While I didn't practice Kendo myself, I respected its emphasis on mental focus and the way it refines the practitioner's spirit. Each martial art, including Kendo, offers valuable insights and techniques that can enhance one's overall martial skill and philosophical approach to combat. For me, the journey was about distilling the essence of what works and discarding what doesn't, creating a more fluid and adaptable approach in Jeet Kune Do. My aim was to create a martial art that was practical, direct, and true to the individual, rather than being bound by traditional forms.
That's interesting. I think we kind of misunderstood each other, but now we know a little bit more about Kendo. But what I was asking was, what was your reason for starting your martial art, Jeet Kune Do?
I see. My reason for creating Jeet Kune Do was to address some of the limitations I encountered in traditional martial arts. As I trained and gained more experience, I noticed that many traditional styles were rigid and often focused too much on forms and techniques that didn't always apply to real combat situations. I wanted to develop a martial art that was practical, efficient, and adaptable. Jeet Kune Do was born out of my desire to strip away unnecessary elements and focus on what truly works in combat. The philosophy behind Jeet Kune Do is to be direct, efficient, and to adapt to the situation rather than being bound by traditional techniques or forms. The idea was to create a martial art that allows practitioners to be like water, flexible, and able to flow with the situation. It's about taking the best aspects from various martial arts, incorporating what is useful, and discarding what is not. Jeet Kune Do emphasizes simplicity, directness, and effectiveness, aiming to be practical for real-world self-defense and combat. Ultimately, it was about expressing oneself freely and authentically in martial arts, without being constrained by rigid structures. This approach reflects my belief that martial arts should evolve with the individual and adapt to their unique needs and circumstances.
Yeah, and that's the saying for Jeet Kune Do is using no way as way and using no limitation as limitation. But in the first part, using no way as way, that very closely relates to the Be Water philosophy, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. The idea of using no way as way in Jeet Kune Do aligns perfectly with the Be Water philosophy. Both concepts emphasize the importance of adaptability and flexibility. When I say using no way as way, it means not being confined to any single technique, style, or form. Instead, it's about adapting and choosing what works best for each situation. This mirrors the be water philosophy, where water adapts to its container and changes form depending on its environment. In martial arts, this means not sticking rigidly to one approach, but being open to various methods and adjusting as needed. It's about fluidity and efficiency, which are core principles in both Jeet Kune Do and the be water mindset.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to get your opinion on this because it seems like your martial art, there was a lot of philosophy that was wrapped into it, but the philosophy is one of open-mindedness. And within a lot of martial arts, there's philosophy that tries to be taught, but it becomes rigid, like you said. And sometimes with the belt structure and the hierarchy, you're not allowed to question things. And with things like boxing and wrestling, where you just show up for learning a skill, there isn't that trap of limitations and almost like a cult-like environment. What are your thoughts on that?
You've touched on a key aspect of martial arts. Traditional martial arts often have rigid structures and hierarchies that can sometimes stifle open-mindedness and innovation. The focus on belts and rank can create a sense of hierarchy that might discourage questioning or exploration beyond established norms. In contrast, disciplines like boxing and wrestling tend to be more straightforward and skill-focused. They emphasize practical application and performance over theoretical or philosophical structures. This can make them more adaptable and less constrained by rigid rules or traditions. In Jeet Kune Do, I aim to avoid these limitations by focusing on what works best in real combat rather than adhering to traditional forms. The idea was to encourage practitioners to question, adapt, and refine their skills continually. Philosophy in martial arts should inspire and guide rather than confine. It's about finding what's useful and discarding what's not, whether in traditional styles or modern disciplines. A flexible mindset allows martial artists to grow and evolve, reflecting the essence of both Jeet Kune Do and the broader principles of adaptability and self-expression.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to put it. I'd like to get into how you got into your movies, into your acting career. At what point did that start, and how did you get introduced into the entertainment business?
My entry into the entertainment industry began while I was still in Hong Kong. Growing up, I was exposed to the world of film through my father, who was a Cantonese opera star. Although I initially pursued martial arts and focused on perfecting my skills, my acting career started somewhat by chance. I began with small roles in Hong Kong films and television, but my big break came when I was cast in the television series The Green Hornet in the early 1960s. Playing Kato, the sidekick, I gained significant attention for my martial arts skills and charismatic presence. This role was instrumental in introducing me to a wider audience, especially in the United States. As I gained popularity, I saw an opportunity to bring martial arts to a global stage. I wanted to challenge the stereotypes of Asian characters in film and showcase martial arts in a more authentic and dynamic way. This led to my involvement in films like Enter the Dragon and The Way of the Dragon, where I could express my martial philosophy and vision through cinema. Acting became a way for me to share my martial arts philosophy with a broader audience and to break down cultural barriers. It was about more than just entertainment. It was about using film as a medium to communicate my beliefs about martial arts, personal growth, and the human spirit.
Yeah, you mentioned the movie Enter the Dragon. That's one of the biggest movies that you ever did. I think that's the one that I believe people probably know the best. And I remember seeing that as a kid and hearing that there were people that didn't believe that you were a true fighter or a real martial artist, and they were challenging you during that movie. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, during the making of Enter the Dragon, there were indeed challenges from people who doubted my skills. It was a significant moment because it tested not only my abilities, but also my resolve. Some martial artists and critics questioned whether I could back up my on-screen persona with real fighting skills. This led to a few challenges from individuals who wanted to test me in actual combat. I welcomed these challenges as I saw them as opportunities to prove my skills and to demonstrate that martial arts is not just a performance, but a real and practical discipline. One notable instance was when a well-known martial artist and critic in Hong Kong invited me to a private match. I accepted, and it was a chance to showcase the authenticity of my training. The experience was intense, but reaffirmed my belief in the principles of martial arts. It's important to remember that martial arts is about self-discipline and respect, not just physical prowess. These encounters also reinforced my commitment to representing martial arts with integrity and authenticity in my films. My goal was always to convey the true spirit of martial arts, rather than just putting on a show. Through Enter the Dragon and my other films, I aim to share the depth and beauty of martial arts with the world.
Can you tell us about that challenge match? What happened in the challenge match?
Certainly. The challenge match you're referring to happened in Hong Kong, and it involved a well-known martial artist who doubted my abilities. This individual was skeptical about the authenticity of my martial arts skills and wanted to test me in a real fight. We arranged a private meeting where we would spar. The match was intense and demanding. I approached it with the mindset of demonstrating the effectiveness of my training and principles. The encounter was a true test of my abilities, but it was also a chance to show that martial arts is not just about flashy moves or choreography. It's about practical skill and real-world application. During the match, I focused on staying calm, utilizing my techniques effectively, and adhering to the principles of my training. The fight was challenging, but I was able to showcase the skills and strategies I had developed. The experience affirmed that my training was solid and that I could hold my own in a real combat situation. This challenge was significant because it not only proved my abilities, but also reinforced the idea that martial arts is a serious discipline, deserving of respect. It was a powerful reminder of why I was committed to blending the philosophy and practical aspects of martial arts in my work in films.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in the movie Enter the Dragon, I remember as a kid watching commercials for it, or like when they would be when they were going to play it on TV. One of the commercials would say that it almost made it seem like what we were watching in the movie were people that were actually challenging you. Was that true, or was that just marketing for the movie?
In Enter the Dragon, the idea that the combatants were genuinely challenging me was more of a marketing angle rather than the reality of the situation. The film showcased choreographed fight scenes designed to entertain and demonstrate martial arts skills in a dramatic context. While the fights in the movie were intense and realistic, they were carefully planned and rehearsed to ensure safety and effectiveness. The portrayal of challenges and confrontations was meant to enhance the story and highlight the skills and techniques of martial arts, rather than depict real-life disputes or challenges. The marketing and promotion of the film aimed to create excitement and intrigue, suggesting that the combat was as real as the movie's dramatic scenarios. In reality, the fights were staged and choreographed with precision, reflecting my training and martial arts philosophy, but not actual unscripted confrontations.
And speaking of legendary movies, another one of my favorite movies, and probably a lot of martial artists' favorite movies, is also the movie Bloodsport. And it turns out years later, we end up finding out that Frank Dukes and the story, or the whole story of Frank Dukes was not real, that he was actually a fake martial artist. What are your thoughts on that?
The story of Frank Dukes and Bloodsport has been quite controversial. The film was marketed as based on true events, but over time, many aspects of Dukes' claims have been questioned or debunked. It's unfortunate when individuals exaggerate or fabricate their achievements, as it can mislead people and undermine the genuine practice and respect for martial arts. Martial arts should be about authenticity, respect, and self-improvement. When someone presents a false narrative, it not only affects their credibility, but can also impact how martial arts are perceived by the public. That said, Bloodsport remains a popular film and has contributed to the excitement and interest in martial arts cinema. It's important for viewers and practitioners to approach such stories critically and recognize the distinction between entertainment and reality. The focus should always be on the real values and principles of martial arts rather than sensationalized or inaccurate portrayals.
Yeah, and Frank Dukes, yeah, turned out to be a fake martial artist. And like what we were talking about before, where sometimes when things are so rigid and you're not allowed to question and there's a hierarchy of things, and that's where it starts to get, and they're also teaching philosophy and mixing that with martial arts. So people can get a sense of that these people know a lot more about a lot more things than they actually do, and not just martial arts, that's where it starts to get dangerous. What are your thoughts on the dangers of fake martial arts?
The dangers of fake martial arts can be significant. When individuals present themselves as experts or authorities without genuine skill or knowledge, they can mislead students and practitioners, potentially causing harm or fostering misconceptions about martial arts. Fake martial arts or exaggerated claims can create false expectations and undermine the credibility of legitimate martial arts. This can lead to several issues. 1. Misleading students. People who seek to learn authentic martial arts might be misled by individuals who lack real skill or understanding. This can prevent them from receiving proper training and can even lead to dangerous situations if they rely on ineffective techniques. 2. False security. Students might believe they have skills that they don't actually possess, leading to overconfidence and potential problems in real-life situations or competitions. 3. Undermining genuine practices. When fake martial arts gain attention, they can overshadow legitimate practices and make it harder for credible martial artists to be recognized and respected. 4. Exploitation. Some individuals may use fake credentials or exaggerated claims to exploit others financially or emotionally, which is unethical and harmful. It's crucial for martial arts practitioners and students to be discerning and to seek out credible, experienced instructors. Authentic martial arts should focus on the principles of discipline, respect, and continuous improvement. Genuine training emphasizes practical skills, personal growth, and the true philosophy behind the art, rather than sensationalism or false claims.
Yeah, and I think the start of the UFC, maybe not so much as a fake martial arts, but the whole start of the UFC was to see which martial art was the best and to see which one was the most effective. And what are your thoughts on the origins of the UFC and kind of what it's turned into today?
The origins of the UFC were indeed focused on discovering which martial art was the most effective in real combat. When it began in 1993, it brought together fighters from various disciplines, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, wrestling, and traditional martial arts, to compete under a single set of rules. This format aimed to test which techniques and strategies worked best in an unregulated, no-holds-barred environment. The early UFC events were revolutionary in that they provided a platform to showcase the practical effectiveness of different martial arts. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example, gained widespread recognition for its effectiveness in ground fighting and submissions, largely due to the success of Royce Gracie in those early tournaments. Over time, the UFC evolved significantly. It transitioned from a spectacle of raw combat into a highly regulated sport with comprehensive rules designed to protect fighters and ensure fair competition. It introduced weight classes, safety regulations, and a more structured approach to training and fighting. Today, the UFC is a global sports phenomenon, blending various martial arts into a unified system known as mixed martial arts MMA. Fighters are trained in multiple disciplines, combining striking and grappling techniques to be well-rounded competitors. The focus is now on skill development, athleticism, and strategic planning. The evolution of the UFC reflects a broader understanding of martial arts and combat sports, emphasizing both the practical effectiveness of techniques and the importance of safety and professionalism. It has become a platform where fighters from diverse backgrounds can showcase their skills and where fans can witness the highest level of competition in MMA.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to ask you, so if you had to pick one UFC fighter of all time to be your favorite, who would that be?
If I had to pick one UFC fighter as a favorite, it would be Georges St. Pierre. His versatility, adaptability, and exceptional skills in both striking and grappling make him a standout athlete. St. Pierre's ability to evolve his game and his dedication to his craft embody the principles of martial arts, making him an inspiring figure in the sport.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely an inspiring figure. He's somebody who I follow, and he's actually my favorite fighter. He's somebody who I've said that I will interview one day, and he's just an excellent example. To this day, after he's retired, he still stays training, he still stays in shape, and he embodies everything that martial arts is.
Georges St. Pierre truly is a remarkable figure in martial arts and MMA. His commitment to training, even after retirement, is a testament to his passion and discipline. He sets a great example of how martial arts can be a lifelong journey of growth and excellence. I'm sure your interview with him would be incredible.
Yeah, so I have another question I would like to ask. Who do you think is the number one pound for pound greatest fighter in the UFC of all time?
Determining the number one pound for pound greatest fighter in the UFC is subjective and often debated. Many would argue that Anderson Silva and Khabib Nurmagomedov are top contenders for this title. Silva's dominance and skill in middleweight, along with his striking prowess, made him a standout. Khabib's unbeaten record and exceptional grappling and control in the lightweight division also make a strong case. Ultimately, it often comes down to personal criteria, including dominance, versatility, and impact on the sport.
Yeah, and speaking of your martial arts and your martial arts training, you said that back when you were young, you used to train in Wing Chun. I remember watching a fight one time, and I was watching a video. Well, actually, I was watching a video of Tony Ferguson preparing for a fight, and he was hitting one of those wooden Wing Chun dummies, and he was practicing on that, which is not something that you typically see for people training in the UFC. But then they cut to him in an actual UFC fight, and he was actually using some of those Wing Chun moves in a UFC fight. What do you think about that?
It's fascinating to see elements of Wing Chun incorporated into modern MMA. The Wing Chun dummy, or Muk Yan Jong, is traditionally used to practice technique, balance, and precision. Seeing a fighter like Tony Ferguson utilize Wing Chun principles in an MMA context highlights how diverse martial arts can be when adapted for different styles. Ferguson's use of Wing Chun techniques demonstrates the versatility of martial arts and how principles from traditional systems can enhance a fighter's overall skill set. It's a great example of how blending techniques from various disciplines can create a unique and effective fighting style. This kind of integration shows the evolving nature of martial arts and how even traditional practices can be relevant and beneficial in contemporary combat sports.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you had a huge influence on Tony Ferguson, just like you've had a huge influence on many UFC fighters. Another one that I know for a fact that you've had a big influence on is Michael Chandler, and he is someone who has your quotes all the time, and one of them that I've seen is the quote, "Walk on." Can you tell us what does that mean? What does walk on mean?
The phrase walk on embodies a sense of perseverance and resilience. It encourages moving forward despite obstacles or challenges. It's about continuing to push through difficulties, staying committed to your goals, and not letting setbacks deter you. In martial arts and in life, walk on reflects the idea of maintaining determination and courage even when faced with adversity. It's a reminder that the journey, with all its struggles and triumphs, is a path worth walking with steadfastness and integrity.
Yeah, and Michael Chandler right now is waiting to get a fight with Conor McGregor. He's been waiting for a fight with Conor McGregor for quite some time now. And another one that a lot of people have been waiting to watch fight is John Jones. Do you think we'll get a chance to see them fight?
The possibility of a fight between Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor is something many fans are eagerly anticipating. Both are high-profile fighters with exciting styles, so it would definitely be an intriguing matchup. As for John Jones, he's one of the greatest fighters in UFC history, and fans are always eager to see him in action. If he returns to the octagon, it will likely be a major event. Matchups involving top fighters like Jones and high-profile opponents often depend on various factors, including negotiations, health, and fight scheduling. Given the interest and demand, it's certainly possible that both of these potential fights could happen in the future.
Yeah. I think one of the things with Conor McGregor is that people say that he's reached a level of success where maybe he's not as motivated as he once was to fight. And there's a saying that it's hard to do road work when you've been sleeping in silk sheets. What do you think about that?
That saying captures a common challenge many athletes face: staying motivated and driven after achieving significant success. Conor McGregor has reached a high level of fame and financial success, which can make it challenging to maintain the same level of motivation and discipline he had earlier in his career. Success can sometimes bring comfort and distractions that might impact a fighter's drive. However, great athletes often find ways to reignite their passion and maintain their edge. For McGregor, it would be about rediscovering that hunger and focus that propelled him to the top. Motivation can ebb and flow, but the best fighters are able to tap into their inner drive and use it to fuel their training and performance, regardless of their current status.
Were you, what about boxing? Was that something that you were into, and who were some of your favorite boxers?
Yes, boxing was definitely something I had an interest in. The sport's focus on timing, technique, and power has always fascinated me. Some of my favorite boxers include Muhammad Ali for his incredible skill and charisma, and Sugar Ray Robinson for his outstanding versatility and technique. Both of them had a profound impact on the sport and were influential in shaping how boxing is perceived. Their approach to the sport and their ability to blend technique with artistry were truly inspiring.
Yeah. So, at this point in the interview, what I would like to do is ask you some questions from some friends of mine, some training partners, and some listeners.
That sounds great. I'm ready for the questions. Let's dive into what your friends and listeners want to know.
So I have a good friend of ours. His name is BNS, and he wanted to know, how would you like to be remembered? Would you like to be remembered as a legendary martial artist or as an artist of life?
I'd like to be remembered as both. My goal was always to blend martial arts with broader life principles. Being a legendary martial artist is important, but what matters more is how those principles and practices influence people's lives beyond the dojo or the ring. If my work in martial arts helped people approach life with more clarity, courage, and flexibility, then that would be the ultimate legacy I'd hope for.
That's awesome. So my dad was a black belt in Taekwondo. He competed in the second world tournament. If you guys haven't seen the first 2 episodes of this podcast, go back and check those out where I interview him and we tell his story. He wanted to know, did you ever fight in any martial arts tournaments to put your training to the test?
Yes, I did participate in martial arts tournaments early in my career. One notable tournament was the 1964 National Chinese Martial Arts Championship in Hong Kong, where I competed and won several titles. These experiences were valuable for testing my skills and applying what I had learned in training. They also helped me understand the practical aspects of martial arts and the importance of continual improvement.
Nice. So yeah, I also have another one of my friends and training partners. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, Steven. And he wanted to know, why do you think we don't see Jeet Kune Do being used in MMA and in the UFC?
Jeet Kune Do, while influential and innovative, is not always seen directly in MMA because its principles are often integrated into various modern martial arts rather than being practiced as a standalone style. Its focus on adaptability, practicality, and using techniques from different disciplines aligns well with MMA. but fighters often incorporate those principles through other systems, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, or striking arts. The essence of Jeet Kune Do is about blending and adapting techniques rather than sticking rigidly to one system. Therefore, many MMA fighters might not label their style as Jeet Kune Do, but still apply its concepts in their training and fighting strategies.
Yeah, and it seems like your martial art, Jeet Kune Do, with it taking what is useful, discarding what is not, and adding what is uniquely your own, seems like that would naturally progress into what modern MMA is today.
Absolutely. Jeet Kune Do's philosophy of taking what works, discarding what doesn't, and adding your own unique approach aligns closely with the evolution of modern MMA. MMA fighters often blend techniques from various martial arts, adapting and integrating them to create a comprehensive and effective fighting style. The adaptability and openness of Jeet Kune Do resonate with the principles of MMA, where fighters continuously evolve and refine their skills based on what proves effective in real competition. This philosophy encourages innovation and practical application, which are central to the development and success in MMA.
Yeah. So I have an old friend of mine, Joey, that wanted to know, while reflecting on your success, what is one thing you would have done differently?
Reflecting on my journey, one thing I might have approached differently is the way I managed my time and energy between martial arts and acting. Balancing both aspects of my career was challenging, and sometimes I felt I could have been more focused or strategic in how I allocated my efforts. However, every experience contributed to my growth and the development of my philosophy. Ultimately, the journey was about learning and evolving, and even the challenges were valuable in shaping who I became.
That's awesome. So I also have my friend Phil, who's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, one of my training partners, and also one of the board members for the nonprofit Veterans Breakthrough. He wanted to know, what do you say, what would you say to somebody about overcoming challenges and obstacles in life?
To overcome challenges and obstacles, it's important to embrace them as opportunities for growth. Stay focused on your goals, remain adaptable, and maintain a positive mindset. Use each challenge as a chance to learn and improve. Remember that perseverance, discipline, and resilience are key. Keep pushing forward, and with time and effort, you'll build strength and capability to face whatever comes your way.
That's great. Another one, our friend Kevin Figueroa, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and training partner. He wanted to know, what path would you have taken if you never started martial arts?
If I had never started martial arts, I might have pursued another form of physical expression or artistic endeavor. I was always interested in various forms of self-expression and personal development, so I could see myself exploring acting, filmmaking, or another discipline that involves creativity and physicality. Martial arts provided a unique combination of both, but I believe I would have sought out other ways to challenge and improve myself.
That's great. In one of your movies, I remember that in one of the fight scenes, you pulled off an armbar. And my coach, George Guerrero from Revive Jiu-Jitsu, wanted to know, what type of grappling did you study?
In addition to Wing Chun, I also studied various forms of grappling. While my primary focus was on striking and the principles of Wing Chun, I recognized the importance of incorporating grappling techniques. I trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and catch wrestling to improve my ground game and submission skills. This blend of striking and grappling helped me develop a more well-rounded approach to martial arts.
All right. And another great friend of the podcast, Eric Vogt, wanted to know, how do you feel about the influence that you've had on so many people and the effect of that had on them and making them start training martial arts?
It's incredibly gratifying to know that my work and philosophy have had a positive impact on so many people. Seeing others find inspiration and motivation through martial arts and apply those lessons to their own lives is deeply fulfilling. It reinforces the idea that martial arts is more than just fighting. It's a path to personal growth, discipline, and resilience. Knowing that my influence has helped others on their journey is a great honor and a testament to the power of martial arts.
Yeah, and now I would like for you to give me a little bit of advice. My son and I are going to be competing in a couple months in a jiu-jitsu tournament, and we are right now in the middle of training and getting prepared. What advice would you give us to have the best outcome at that tournament?
Focus on your preparation and stay disciplined in your training. Make sure you practice consistently and address both your strengths and weaknesses. Mental preparation is also crucial. Visualize your techniques and strategies and stay calm under pressure. Remember to stay adaptable during the matches and be ready to adjust your approach as needed. Trust in your training, stay confident, and enjoy the experience of competing with your son. Good luck to both of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Would you say the mental aspect of training or the physical part of training is more important?
Both the mental and physical aspects are crucial, but the mental aspect often plays a larger role in how you perform. Physical training builds your skills and endurance, but mental toughness helps you handle pressure, stay focused, and adapt during competition. A strong mindset can enhance your physical performance and help you push through challenges. Balancing both elements is key to achieving success.
You know, there's something that I heard recently. I think his name's Chris Williamson. He has a podcast on YouTube, and he was saying that the way to develop self-confidence is through stacks and stacks of undeniable proof of that you are who you say you are. And that seems to lead to the mental aspect, but it only comes through putting in the work in the gym, training, and just grinding it out. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a solid perspective. Self-confidence often comes from building a track record of success and proving to yourself that you can achieve your goals. By putting in the work and seeing tangible results from your effort, you reinforce your belief in your abilities. This kind of evidence-based confidence can be powerful because it's grounded in your actual achievements and progress. So, consistent effort and tangible accomplishments help solidify your mental strength and self-confidence.
Yeah. So, you know, at this point in the podcast, one thing that I would like to do is that I've noticed that every time that I do one of these shows, I'm wearing a shirt from a different place, a martial arts shirt from a place that I've trained at. And what I'm going to start doing is sharing a little bit about what I'm wearing. And because everywhere that I go, I have such a great experience. And what I'd like to do today, if you guys can see my shirt, I'm wearing a shirt from Carlos Farias Jiu-Jitsu, which is where I started my jiu-jitsu journey. And I trained there for over 6 years. And the Carlos Farias team is just incredible. From the first day that I showed up there, he was so welcoming. He's such a big guy. He's an ultra heavyweight. And we had our kids coaching with him. And a lot of times you can see, you know, how a person is when they're interacting with kids and with other people. And Coach Carlos is just incredible. If you guys are looking for a place to train in Northeast Mesa in Arizona, or if you're visiting in town and you want to stop by, I would definitely suggest coming and checking out Farias Jiu-Jitsu, and where you guys can go to the gym. It's located at 5257 East Brown Road in Mesa, 85205. And you can also check out the website, fariasjujitsu.com. Well, Bruce, I think we've had an incredible interview. It's been awesome to be able to sit here with you and share this time. Is there anything that you would like, any messages that you would like to leave for our listeners?
Thank you for having me. To everyone listening, remember that martial arts is more than just physical training. It's a journey of self-discovery and growth. Stay true to yourself, embrace challenges, and continue to evolve. If you found value in this conversation, please like, subscribe, comment, and share this podcast with others. Your support helps keep the spirit of martial arts alive. Keep training and stay inspired.
Thanks, Bruce. And thank you guys for listening to Fighting for Your Life podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one.